too hard to talk about. And the days after, I use the words, reminds me of King David, Tazorim bedima berina yitzoro. When you sow the ground with your tears and let things blossom from it, that will bring you comfort.
The ocean, it touches your soul, and it's spiritual. This whole thing is spiritual. You look out over the ocean and it's just magnificent. And it probably changes the way people see life.
I love everything about this place. It's a quintessential town.
It's a town where you know your neighbors and you can go out for a walk on the Strand and run into people that you know. And
it was like a little kept secret, Manhattan Beach, back in the 80s. People that live here know about the quality of life, the beach life. It's just special, it's unique. Everybody falls in love with Manhattan Beach.
You know, when I first showed up here, I drove down Manhattan Beach Boulevard, and coming over the top of the hill, I think one of the first things I saw was the pier and the aquarium. And I said to myself, oh my God, this is what California looked like in the movies. I haven't left since.
We talk about the pier, and we always say the pier, but what we're really saying is the Roundhouse, because there's a lot of communities with a pier, but there's only one Roundhouse. It's our Eiffel Tower. So to me, it's really the main icon, the main symbol of Manhattan Beach.
I think the pier and the Roundhouse personify Manhattan Beach. It is the postcard shot, you know, with the palm trees in the forefront.
The pier was a very undesirable place in the 1970s. There were some motorcycle gangs that had taken it over, and the fishermen that were out there would throw the fish on the floor and the walls of the Roundhouse. It was open, but it was unoccupied. The place stunk. There were some people who saw it as a good place to teach about the ocean and the environment. And one of them was a teacher at the local grade school. She was the one who came up with this concept of teaching about the ocean and the environment to kids all over Los Angeles County.
My kids are in their 20s now, but we spent many a Saturday, Sunday at the Roundhouse when they were little. You know, they really got an education of what goes on out there.
From a very early age, we used to bring our kids to the touch tanks at the end of the pier where they could touch fish, play with starfish, and learn about the ocean environment.
We would travel down the pier to the Roundhouse. The kids especially loved, you know, the touch tank because that's hands-on, and they would have someone from the class, a boy and a girl, kiss the sea cucumber. And when it was Harrison's year, he was the boy that kissed the sea cucumber.
Harrison loved the water. He grew up on the water and spent many, many weekends or weeks in Catalina at the Isthmus. You couldn't get him out of the water.
And I remember when Harrison was just born, there was a tremendous sparkle in his eye. I remember seeing him just around town. It was always, you know, a big smile. And he was always, even as a kid, he was a very joyous kid.
He absolutely loved fishing.
He was always on the water. Really, his whole life was spent in this town, whether it was going to the beach or going to the Roundhouse as a kid.
Harrison loved that place. He would want to go there all the time. I mean, when he was a little kid. He was just enamored with sea life. He just absolutely loved it.
Special guy, a renegade, just living on the beach and at the beach was so special to him.
When I think of Harrison, I think of a complicated boy who turned into a man. He was a leader. He was interested in everything. He was inquisitive. He felt at times rules didn't really apply to Harrison.
I loved that Harrison was very passionate. I loved our conversations. I especially remember while he was in China, he would call me regularly to check in and saying, "Hi, Mom, I love you. How are you? What are you doing?"
I was away working with my team in London. We were all getting ready, and I got a phone call. You know, I think an hour later figured out what I needed to do, which was come home.
It's one thing that is described in my memory, getting that phone call late in the middle of the night. It feels like it's just like I'm hearing the call right now. It was such a dark day.
He was traveling with his cousin Colton while he was on an internship.
He choked on a meal and, nobody was there in his room, and it was just horrific.
And that's where he passed. It was disbelief. It was unbelievable. It was, oh God, how could you do this? Felt like any other parent would feel. In complete disbelief. The world's coming to an end. Your life will never be the same. It wasn't just my family that was suffering. Whenever a tragedy hits so close to home, it ripples through the community and everybody they feel it. When I got home, days after the tragedy, it was, what are we gonna do to make a difference? Within 4 or 5 days, we had set up the Harrison Greenberg Foundation, and we got a tremendous amount of support. We quickly received close to $250,000. It touched the community, a local boy passing at a young age. So we went in search of what to do. Robin and I have worked together for, 18 years. And we came up with the idea that let's talk to the Roundhouse because it was really in need of renovation. It was dilapidated, it was dated.
The aquarium was really starting to show its age. The marine environment is very harsh on building materials. The floors and walls were starting to fall apart. Metal was corroding, algae was growing everywhere. It really needed to be upgraded.
And the way they chiefly obtained their funds were through small donations, dollar bills, coins put into the trough. And that was their principal revenue base to do any sort of maintenance and upgrades.
So I met with them literally 5 days after Harrison passed away. My first meeting, it was with Lynn Gross, and she thought that I wanted to maybe donate a new tank. A month or so later, we had a meeting at my office, and I think at some point I said, what about a new aquarium? Why just some Band-Aids? Why a new tank? I think the room went quiet. There was probably some panic. It's like coming into somebody's backyard and saying, your pool needs some repairs, but we're gonna gut the entire yard. And we're gonna bring in all new hardscape. Everything's gonna be brand new. And maybe they were thinking, well, we don't necessarily want that. But I saw it, I really did.
Everybody realized this was going to be good for the community, but no one believed it could be done. Everybody said, this is a 5-year project. You'll never get it done.
I really was lost, but I called Grant up.
Said he had an idea, and I thought his idea was spectacular. I also thought it was going to be incredibly challenging. Public-private partnership of the nature he was talking about hasn't been done before. This would be a challenge, but one that I'd be willing to try to help him with.
And on April 11th, I met with Michael Greenberg and Wendy. That was the beginning of the beautification project.
The first step is the one of the heart. You lead with the heart.
So through the process of putting together the team, we pulled together some proposals from architectural firms that specialize in aquariums, and we actually had Cambridge 7 bid on the project. Now, Cambridge 7 is the renowned architectural firm for aquariums, possibly in the world. They presented to us, and we didn't all agree, I said, I feel like we should go with Cambridge 7, even though they're the furthest away. They're on the East Coast, and the other two are on the West Coast. It wasn't even a difficult decision. It was a guttural feel. This is the company we need to work with. And that's how Cambridge 7 came to be. And I will tell you, I meet a lot of passionate, creative people in what I do. And I've never met a more passionate, dedicated individual than Peter.
This project, more intensely than, frankly, any project I've ever worked on, has that quality, that personal connection, if you will, of many layers, beginning with Harrison and who he was and how he would be. And it's a very personal and very special experience.
In order to get to completion, once it was envisioned, it was going to be towards $4.5 million. I would have to be in front of a lot of people and talk about the tragedy. It was scary because it's honest and it's real. Nobody expects you not to have these emotions when you're talking about something that is so painful.
There were a lot of challenges. I'll admit there were some times when I thought this was going to fall apart.
There were the efforts in the red tape, the challenges of putting a state-of-the-art aquarium in a 2,200 square foot building at the end of a pier. Every which way we turned, there was a new obstacle because the Roundhouse had been down at the end of the pier for over 100 years. And in the 100 years, it had a little coffee shop. When you were heading west down the pier, you couldn't see the largest aquarium in the world, the Pacific Ocean, because this small coffee shop blocked your view of what was behind the Roundhouse.
You're talking about an incredible layer of jurisdiction and governmental entities involved.
Everybody had a say in it. One very important agency, the Coastal Commission, had a very big say in it. Because it's a historical building, the Coastal Commission has to approve the removal of the coffee shop. And that made me really nervous because I had never dealt with the Coastal Commission before. We were so far down the road and ready to put a shovel in the ground, if you will, and I believe their calendar was booked. Well, somehow we were able to have a Coastal Commission meeting set up in Cambria. So we get the date, and I put together a team of about 30 of us. And we get Harrison Foundation t-shirts and hats. We all get on planes and we fly to Cambria. And I don't think I slept a wink that night. They could have blocked it by not allowing any change to the building itself. We presented to the Coastal Commission. A couple of people showed up from Manhattan Beach with strong opposition to the change. And what was amazing is all 12 commissioners were in favor of the project.
Is there any objection to a unanimous yes vote? Seeing no objection, the motion passes.
The lead commissioner came up to me after the meeting and he said, in all my time as a commissioner, I have never cried in a presentation. They were saying this is a beautiful gift to our state, to our community, for so many to enjoy. And we're fully behind your vision to bring the new Roundhouse Aquarium to Manhattan Beach and to the state of California. Through jumping over many hurdles, we're able to get the certificate of occupancy to open.
We're really lucky that Michael had the vision he had and made it happen.
It was a big day upon the groundbreaking, and we invited all the contributors. This is the largest public-private venture in recent history in Manhattan Beach. And I knew when we put the shovels in that mock sandbox that we were off to the races.
I remember the groundbreaking happened, and a few months later, it just looked like a completely different place. There was literally not one thing in the pier. It was completely gutted. There were no pumps, there was no drywall, there were no fish tanks, literally nothing. It was just a cement floor and the wood stilts that it stood up on.
Once the construction started, they had to get the entire inside of the building, essentially build the interior from scratch.
We went about it as how are we going to get all of what we envision into this roundhouse? And is it possible?
We had to develop a temporary facility so that animals could move out. There's so many people involved with this in terms of general construction, specialty construction such as the tanks, habitat construction, what's in the tank, life support systems that maintain the fish and the mechanical systems, graphic systems, and just a lot of different layers, and they have to be interwoven. You're dealing with something on a very intimate, small level. It's extremely tight. Every inch counts. The entrance at the time was on the side, was on the south side of the building, and the front of the building actually was blocked. And the idea that was developed initially was to enter from the east. And then what we did with that is to allow that experience like a great house. You know, you come in and you can look right through the house to the meadows and to the mountains and to the sea. That's what we did. And so you come into this building and immediately the space pops up because you have this large open space. And then it goes down because there's a mezzanine above it. And then it pops up again. But the driving force is this march to the sea.
Grieving it's complicated. I think we all grieve differently at different times. If I'm feeling sad, I'll allow myself to feel sad, but I won't allow it to become paralyzing. You have to go through the process. You can't just avoid it. And I think that this project, the Roundhouse Project, was a part, maybe, of my grieving process. And I don't think it ever goes away. Maybe sometimes it shows up less often. It's never far away.
Through my eyes, Harrison had a spunk to himself. He didn't live within the boundaries. You know, it came with a joy, it came with a chutzpah. There was always a spirit that he had, which was very special.
Very inspiring, beautiful heart, could be really sensitive, could also be really difficult. When he made up his mind, certainly he wasn't going to listen to me.
He really cared about his family, so, you know, he was actually, in a way, the glue that held the extended family together in a sense. He was just close with everybody and really cared what they had to say.
We thought about having a medallion put in the center of the roundhouse in honor of Harrison. This is a duplicate, much, much smaller, of the medallion that's in the floor. It says, dedicated to Harrison Greenberg, whose love of the ocean drove his interests. So this is how his legacy is remembered, by the medallion within the aquarium.
People say, like, you know, time heals. I don't necessarily believe that. I think time helps. But the one thing that is for sure is that no one can take away the memories. Now, you know, Wendy and Michael, they're gonna have this special place. It's not gonna bring Harrison back by any means, but it's gonna be a place that hopefully when they see the smiles and the location, it's gonna help in the healing process.
We are here to celebrate our Pier and Roundhouse and Harrison Greenberg and the many contributions of the family and others to make this happen.
And so today we have the new aquarium at the end of the pier in Manhattan Beach. You know, even though Harrison passed at a young age, he got to accomplish so much. Because of him, I wanted to do something special in his honor.
We remember Harrison and all that he brought to our lives. And today we can celebrate this wonderful new Manhattan Beach Roundhouse.
Michael said that for him this project has been a journey, and that really struck a chord with me because I feel like it's been a journey too. And now the journey is coming to an end and we see our destination behind us. It's spectacular.
During the grand opening, we had over 500 people that played a role in it, just have a real celebration of accomplishment.
I hear it. This is the smallest aquarium that I ever designed, that we ever designed. And we say no, it's the largest. But you can't measure heart. And this project has by far, for me and for all of us that worked with it, the largest heart. And heart drives soul and it drives spirit. But our very, very, very best work comes from our hearts.
When the project was completed, I thought that there was really no better way to memorialize Harrison than with the Roundhouse.
The Roundhouse is perfect for him because he loved our ocean, he loved science, and you don't have to buy a ticket. It's just free to anyone who comes and visits, and that's how he would have liked it.
We added a lot of square footage. Everything is brand new. Everything's state-of-the-art. The teaching center, the jellyfish tank, the floor.
It has every element that a world-class aquarium has in terms of, I think this is a world-class aquarium.
It's just incredible what Cambridge 7 was able to fit into this tiny little round building.
It's alive. You go in there. It's beautiful. But it's not just for the Manhattan Beach, Hermosa, Redondo community that gets to experience the water every day. Their involvement is with children from the inner communities.
So we bring in 15,000 students every year for our educational programs. They come from all over the Los Angeles basin, including a lot of underserved communities. And what we find is the students that come have never been to the beach, even though they live 10 miles or 15 miles away.
See all this water? Yeah! Everybody say, good morning, Pacific Ocean.
Good morning, Pacific Ocean.
We all get together as a group and we talk about the animals that they saw and what ocean habitat they come from.
All of these animals are related to each other. What? They are in this big group of animals called echinoderms.
The kids get to touch things and they'd even kiss one of those really slimy friends too.
Favorite animal is the cucumber. It felt slimy. It was kind of cool and gross.
So the most important part of this activity is how we can affect the ocean habitat in a positive way or how we can affect it in a negative way. My kids have started to pick up trash even before we came here. They're like, no, it's gonna go to the ocean. And so they really have that down by the end of the field trip.
You walk up the wall, there is all the biodegradables. Sort of reinforce that idea that our oceans are precious, and to enjoy all the marine life that we have here, we need to be mindful of maintaining our oceans.
It's great to have something the community can rally around like that and something tangible, you know, that we can leave behind and for others to enjoy. And we're really, really happy to be a part of it.
He would love the fact that kids from everywhere abroad would get to really cherish and embrace what it is that the Harrison Greenberg Foundation ended up bringing to the community. Harrison continues to touch people through the aquarium at the end of the pier, the Roundhouse, and that makes me happy, and that would make him happy.
He had too much more life to live. That kid was a bundle of joy. So he's living his life by letting others experience life that they would never have that opportunity to do through the things that Harrison loved. And that's the point. Harrison loved it, so his love he's sharing with others.
It makes you think about your own life, and the fragility of it was closed down for a little while, and it had fallen in disrepair, and now it's beautiful and useful and something that's, I think, reflective of the greatness of the city of Manhattan Beach.
This project is not over. We can't lose sight of the fact that the Roundhouse is on top of a concrete structure sitting just above the ocean, and the elements are corrosive. I know that I will always want to visit the Roundhouse in the condition it's in now. And I'm going to do everything I can do, as long as I'm around, to protect it.
You know, the Roundhouse is his new home, and he can offer it to so many people in his name. People will be here to come for years and enjoy and learn.
You know, every few days since the opening, I visit the Roundhouse, and I see the faces of the people that are passing through, and the kids, and they're in awe, and they're looking at the fish tanks. They're holding mommy or daddy's hand. And it's rewarding. Because of a tragedy, there became this opportunity to give back and inspire so many others for generations to come. And when I see their faces light up, it brings joy to me.
It's just a marvelous thing to take what is such an incredible tragedy and turn it into such an incredible community, a source of pride.
With tears, with joy, you will harp the benefits. Tragedies happen. We cry. Don't let the tears just go nowhere. Use the power of those tears to transform, to seed the ground for growth, for new opportunity. Doesn't underestimate or wash away the pain. Through it, you will find your comfort. Through it, you will find your joy and celebration.
I think it's a great legacy for a boy who loved the sea. I love you, Harrison, to the moon and back. You will be forever in my heart and never be forgotten.
He was absolutely a fish. I mean, he lived for the water. It's an inspiration to him. Everybody will know that Harrison Greenberg loved the ocean, and that his gift to the city and to the whole of LA is to have this wonderful aquarium that now is world class. I mean, you can't get better than that.
So the spirit of Harrison lives within, because it would not exist if not. So when a child walks in that never experienced what lies beneath the water and learns about the great mighty sea, how we must take care of our environment, and to educate and to inspire the love for the ocean, that's Harrison. So that's Harrison smiling, that's Harrison there. It's not just the medallion on the floor, it's all over. It's the spirit of him.
He was away from home, you know, his last year of life. He came back, and I'm driving him, and it was nighttime, and he was so happy to be in Manhattan Beach. He says, "We gotta pull over." We pull over. He gets out of the car, and he looks out, and we're right on Manhattan Beach Boulevard. He looks out onto the pier, and he says, "Oh my God, I'm home."